Welcome back. Now we are joined by Patrick Mushiri, who is an expert from JQuat Institute of Biotechnology Research. Patrick, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Now, I just want us to have a conversation on mushroom farming in Kenya and how often are mushrooms cultivated really in Kenya, and what is can you quantify the production?
Mushrooms are cultivated continuously in Kenya for 30 days throughout the year, throughout the month, and they harvest about 40 tons a month, which is hardly enough for this country. We import in the region of 10 to 20 tons of mushrooms from other countries.
All right, and with the amount that you've spoken about, the 40 tons, what is the addition of mushrooms to the economy, since agriculture is one of the biggest contributors to the GDP in Kenya? So what is the value that mushroom adds to the economy of Kenya?
It's a big value, we say, because you see, normally we use agricultural wastes from cultivating mushrooms, things that would have thrown away in agriculture during harvesting and during processing, things like coffee, maize, cereals, straws, all those maize cobs. We recycle these materials and grow a high value crop like mushrooms. And also remember, this is a very good activity that many people are earning a livelihood all over this country.
And you speaking about people earning a livelihood, we've had a period of COVID-19 since last year in March until it's still continuing, and we have entered actually into a third wave. What has this been to the to the mushroom industry? How was it before COVID, and now how is it now that we are in a pandemic?
Before COVID, we thought that it's going to have a negative impact on the demand of mushrooms, but we realized that that was not to be, because during COVID, the demand went up by 100%. We were even unable to supply the market during that time. Now after COVID, now people have gone back to their work, and again now that wave has come. So we do not know what is going to happen now, because you see, it might possibly replay itself again, because we were surprised that during the COVID period when people were at home, the demand went up surprisingly, and we could not even feel the demand.
All right, and now because you've spoken about people going back to do their work, now you find that there are people who really rely on mushrooms as a way of earning some bit of money for themselves. Now, how are these mushrooms grown, and how are they harvested?
Normally, as I said before, we utilize agricultural wastes, including sawdust, for growing our mushrooms. We need to construct a structure for controlling the climate. So many farmers in this country have put up simple houses using local materials made of thatch or makuti, and the sides are made of earth, because this kind of structure can be able to keep the right climate. You can also use bricks. You can also use stone or any material that is a bad conductor of heat, because the most important thing during the cultivation of mushrooms is the maintenance of certain climate at certain times.
And can these mushrooms be grown like the other plants, the way you find that some plants need the sun? Do mushrooms really have a specific area they need to be grown in, or are they just grown like any other vegetable?
You cannot grow mushrooms outside because you cannot be able to control the climate. Of course, like you have just asked, mushroom requires some light at some certain stages in their production, especially when they are growing. Okay, mushrooms do not have chlorophyll like the green plants, but they require light for proper growth. The initial stages, it's supposed to be dark. During production, they need a bit of light. So we provide light, for example, artificial light or natural light. Many farmers who are growing in the rural areas, they can utilize, they just open a window, a door there for a bit of light. But the farmers who grow in urban areas possibly they could use power for providing the right for the mushrooms. The mushrooms are specifically grown in specific conditions, like we control the RH, the relative humidity, the amount of water in the air. We control things like the CO2 concentration in the house, because we also control the temperature. We also control the movement of the air, the velocity of the air inside those houses. All those conditions have to be controlled at certain times.
All right, and now speaking about the farmers in the rural areas, you find that these mushrooms sometimes you find there are poisonous mushrooms and non-poisonous mushrooms, and you find children really picking some mushrooms just on the side of the road and eating the mushrooms. Can you really help us know about the poisonous mushrooms and the non-poisonous mushrooms?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it's a bit difficult to recognize, to identify the poisonous mushrooms and the non-poisonous mushrooms sometimes, but the mushrooms that we are growing are specific mushrooms that have been tested. They are also in the wild, because all the mushrooms have been gotten from the wild. So the advice that I would give to anybody is that if you do not know the type of mushrooms that you are dealing with, don't eat anything that you do not know, to be safe. Eat what you know. Of course, in this country, there are some communities in Western Kenya and the coast who know about how to identify the poisonous mushrooms and the non-poisonous mushrooms in the wild. But to be safe, don't eat mushrooms that you do not know.
All right, and Mr. Patrick, do you really have an idea of can you really just educate us on maybe some of the effects that these poisonous mushrooms cause to the body?
Yes, poisonous mushrooms are quite dangerous. There are two things that could happen if you eat poisonous mushrooms. They could kill you outright. You could hallucinate, or you could get sick because of eating poisonous mushrooms.
All right, and now you spoke about the farmers who are in the rural areas and the farmers who are in the urban areas, and we have distribution channels that maybe get the mushrooms from the farm to the supermarkets. Can you really just give us an idea of how this usually happens? Because you usually go to the supermarket and you find there are mushrooms there, and we don't know how they reach there. Can you just enlighten us and let us know how this usually happens?
When many farmers around this country grow their mushrooms, they would individually sell the mushrooms. We do not have an organization where possibly they will collect mushrooms from the farmers, because we haven't reached that stage, because the production is still down. So farmers would handle their marketing, and mushrooms are sold in supermarket, they are sold in hotels and green grocers. We have one farmers market in High Ridge, where farmers would take their produce, and then people would come and grow and take the mushrooms from there. This farmers market will run from Monday to Saturday, and it operates from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And it's the farmers, individual farmers would come and meet the specific buyers in that area.
All right, and now what are some of the benefits of growing these mushrooms to farmers?
Of course, as I said earlier, we are utilizing agricultural wastes, things that we would have thrown away after processing or growing or harvesting crops. So this is what we are recycling, and this is a big advantage because it doesn't have a big cost. So the other advantages is when you grow mushrooms, we are recycling agricultural wastes that would have otherwise interfered with the environment. So we end up with a cleaner environment. So the farmers here at JQuat, we train farmers on how to grow mushrooms, how to do the structures, how to market pests and diseases, and how to control the climate, all that. So we have programs that run 3 days a month. So they would come and we train them, and then they would be able to go into this business without much problems. We also make the planting material, high-grade planting material, the seed. We call it spawn. So the farmers would come and would serve them high-quality spawn, seed for using in their business.
All right, and are there really seasons for this mushroom, or it's just available from January to January? Are there really seasons that it is not there, and then there are seasons that it is available?
Unlike the wild mushrooms that grow during certain seasons, especially when it rains, the cultivated mushrooms grow throughout. The reason is, remember, it's us or it's the farmer who is controlling the climate, so they don't have any seasons. They grow anywhere, because you can grow mushrooms anywhere, in hot areas, in cold areas, and mushrooms are grown throughout because the farmer is controlling the climate in their specific growing houses.
All right, thank you so much. That has been Patrick Mushiri, who is an expert from JKUAT at the Institute of Biotechnology Research. He has really just explained to us about mushroom farming, and he has explained to us really what some of the poisonous mushrooms do to the body, and some of the non-poisonous mushrooms, what nutrients they give to the body. He has also explained to us how mushroom is grown, what are the requirements that are needed for a farmer to have in order to just grow mushrooms. We're going to go for a short break, but remember, our question of the day was, when did mushrooms first appear on planet Earth? When did mushrooms first appear on planet Earth? We're going to just read some of your comments. Send us your comments, and remember, we are live on Facebook at Metropole TV KE, and we'll just sample some of your comments at the end of this show. But right now, we are going to go for a short break. We'll be back with innovations and agri-facts.